Thank you.
All right. So we're having a lovely time together here, you and I hanging out and talking. And so we're going to let the rest of the world in on what we're talking about. How just I like when we left off last, I think you had gone to visit your mother and you had some spaces while you were there, but they were nowhere near the density or the difficulty, maybe uncomfortableness that you had had in the past. I think the observation was more present, and I think your flow was more present. So now I think you've implemented even more. So you go ahead and let them understand from your point of view what I'm talking about.
Well, a couple of years ago, my mother got really sick when she contracted COVID, and it took us through just so many things because of her health, and it went on for months and months. And I had to put her into assisted living, and she was so angry with me and hateful. And it was one of the most grueling experiences of my life, but it was also one of the most healing because I realized what a rescuer. I thought I always needed to be with my mother when she never asked me to rescue her. And in this case, I didn't have a choice just because of her health. But it also helped me to see a side of her that I had, that my sister has always seen, but that I somehow completely put a shield over it. And so I never saw that side of her. And now she's back living by herself in a new home, and she's happy. But that experience really helped me to learn to set boundaries. And I used to feel like I had to go and spend like 2 weeks with her and like handle all the details and fix her meals and do all this stuff. And now I'm realizing that 5 days is my limit. And it's mostly because a lot of it is, besides her personality and my personality are so different, she's hearing impaired. And so I have to write everything down on a whiteboard and or speak into my phone and show it to her. So I have to pick and choose what I say. And she always watches my face and can tell when I'm getting frustrated, and she'll point that out. So honestly, I'm still trying to find out where I belong in this mother-daughter relationship because I have changed so much. I always had my mother on a pedestal, and you know what happens when you put people on a pedestal? They take the big crash eventually. So I'm still kind of fighting my way, but I am. The latest thing that happened, she's going to be 90 in July. And the latest thing is she has a cousin whose husband died this month or last month now. And she wanted me to accompany her to the funeral, which would be flying halfway across the country with her. And I haven't told her yet, but I'm not going to do it. And yes, I do feel a little bit guilty,
Yeah.
but I can deal with that,
Yeah.
you know. But I understand why she wants to go because I know she probably will never see these people again, just because of everyone's ages. But I also know that I can't do it. I cannot do it without sacrificing myself. And I I just am to the point where I don't want to sacrifice myself for anyone anymore.
I love
So
that. I love that. We need to make that the title of this video. Don't sacrifice yourself for anyone anymore. Oh, that's powerful.
I haven't told her yet. I tried to skirt around it and say, I don't think this is a very good idea. But she said, well, just don't make a hasty decision. And I said, okay, I'll talk to you later. Love you. And we just kind of ended the conversation. So I've been talking to some of my family and a couple of my friends, and I'll just practice. I'll say, I think I'm going to tell her no. And then I just say that mostly to hear my voice say it. And so then I'm like, okay, well, how does that make me feel when I say that? So I had lunch with my daughter yesterday, and I knew what her answer would be because she is such a wise soul, and she always has been ever since she was a little girl, and she's 45 now. But I told her, and without much hesitation, she's just said, "Mom, you don't need to go. I don't think it's a very good idea."
All right.
Take
So
care of myself.
this is a really big space that, you know, what do we say we do? We say we design and then we align. So do you see how you even designed the perfect space for you to decide to not sacrifice yourself anymore for others and to love yourself first? You like
Yes.
designed this perfect space, you know? We're not saying you caused any specific things to happen in the way they did, but you allowed the space itself, when it was available, to be aligned with the ability to bring forth wisdom. That's what you did. The space itself unfolding no matter what, but also then being able to bring in this opportunity for you to gain this clarity. So this is huge, and I'll stand by you. You know that every step of the way, my hand's right here, as you navigate saying what you need to say and doing what you need to do in order to be who you need to be for you. But no guilt, no shame, because truly it is, it would be above and beyond to take her, in my humble opinion. And
I used to
it's,
do that above and beyond with her.
yes. And so here's the other thing is she's probably used to that too.
Right.
Yeah.
But she can also tell a difference in me.
Mhm.
You know, I can tell she like said, well, don't be hasty in your decision. But she also like hasn't pushed or asked me, or I mean, she knows I'm different. And just like I am learning how to be around her in a different way, I have this sense that she is also not quite sure about how to be with this new me. Does that make sense? We're
Absolutely,
still
100%.
kind of finding our dance, doing our dance thing.
And that's how it works because of that interconnective, you know, energy, consciousness, yours, hers. And as yours expands, hers is given the opportunity to. As hers expands, yours is given the opportunity to. Everybody has free will. They can do with it whatever they please. But this is also a perfect space that she designed for her to learn how to respond and how to function and process what you're about to say to her. Yes? So it's everybody's game, you know, the ball's bouncing back and forth, court to court. Um, and everybody has the opportunity to play in the way they feel that they, you know, are here to play. Um, so this is really big and beautiful. And do you feel like the work we've done with the new human, the work we've done with ACASMA Quantum Energy, with the courses, the classes, the teachings, the understandings, the energy work, do you feel like it played a role in being able to navigate in the way you have and being able to say, I'm not going to self-sacrifice anymore?
Yes, definitely. There isn't one day that goes by that I don't put into practice something about being the new human, and that I don't think about a Cosmet. And one of the things I do when I think about designing and aligning, I've done this for about a year now. It happened in one session with you that everyone was in. I'm not even sure what it was, but I always, you know how trains have those couplers, like they can release a car, or then they have this thing that like clasps together. That is what always comes to my mind when I say I'm designing and aligning this. I picture this train hitch, two of them, and I like actually hear the click when they go click like
Beautiful.
that, so the train can like move
Yes.
forward.
Yes.
That's a visual that I always say.
So I love that. That's beautiful. Very, very well said. Very well said. So, all right, now there was another space that happened recently with another experience you had. Do you want to share that with us?
Yeah, it was a really one of the heaviest energies that I've had for a long time with a friend. And it's a friend, also professional, that I see. I was having some neck issues. And so I decided to go to someone who specialized in that kind of work. And so I canceled an appointment with her, not knowing all the background that was going on because they work in the same building. And when I and I texted her. I went through all the things. Do I even tell her why I'm doing this? Do I text her? Do I call her? We just don't have like a telephone conversation where you call. It's always been through texting. And my plan was to just like see this other person for a couple of months and see what changes could happen, and then go back to her again. But as it turns out, there had been all of this conflict with this other practitioner that I was not aware of. And she had also been unhappy where she was working for the last year. And so when I told her that I was canceling the appointment, she quit working there. It was like the straw that broke the camel's back. And you know, I got this text from her, she waited a couple of weeks. She couldn't like text me, obviously, like when it happened. And she waited a couple of weeks, and she said, you know, of course you can see this other practitioner, but she said, you know, you're one of my favorite clients. You know, I love you. And she said, my feelings were really hurt. And of course, my first internal response was guilt. I'm like, oh my God, I have just ruined this woman's career. But then like Acasma stepped in, and I don't know, it's just like everything got so much clearer. And so I realized, I mean, that guilty thing, I realized this had nothing to do with me, that I was taking care of myself. I was being honest with her about why. And I had no intention of never coming back to her. So then I said, we need to have lunch sometime. And then, you know, one thing led to another, weather, and she was gone for a while. Anyway, so 3 months later, she texts me out of the blue and asked me if I was still seeing this practitioner and if I still like this person. And I just thought to myself right there, I thought, we are not texting about this. I said, let's have lunch.
Okay.
So we did. And I wasn't even nervous. Like, you know, several years ago, I would have been like, oh my God, what am I going to do? She hates me now. But there was like none of that. It was like, it was just something that needed to be done. I felt totally grounded and really adult-like. And and so we had lunch, and you know, I told her again why I had, you know, done what I'd done, that I had no intention of like leaving her for good. It was just like a temporary thing. And then she ended up just like pouring out all of this background that I had no idea that was going on. And she had so many, she's very sensitive, and she was crying, and she just had, I just had so much compassion for her. And I was able to just, it was being like in an Acasma coaching session. I was just able to allow her to talk and then point out things to her, you know, and just things. As an observer, I could see the entire picture. She had been caught in this snag for like over a year, and one thing after another been piling on, and she still couldn't see that maybe it was time for her to move out of this, because she has a store that her mother gave her, a crystal store nonetheless, that she was running and doing practitioner work at the same time. And so I said, you know, I said, listen, I said, how old are you? And she told me, and I said, listen, you are in such a great place. You are in a new love relationship. You are a great business person. You are free. And like, you know, you created this, and I guess I did along with her, for you to be able to make this decision. And like, I could just see the more that I just encouraged her to speak about it and would ask questions and help her to see that, look where you are. This is so much better than where you've been, you know, the last year. And so it just ended up being a really beautiful healing space. We talked for 2 hours at lunch. we gave each other a big hug afterwards and told each other that we loved each other. And I have an appointment with her next month. And I just walked away thinking, wow, I mean, that if that wasn't being the new human, then I don't know what is. And like you said, you were able to hold the line. And it's like, yeah, that's exactly what I did. I held the line.
So, two big spaces I see here. One is, of course, your ability to hold the line of love, be a grand observer in all aspects. So, you were observing how you were feeling without attachment, without judgment. You were observing with neutrality. You were observing with wholeness. You were anchored. You were grounded. You had clarity. You were coming from love for yourself, boundaries set in connection with that love. And then you were also able to be all of that, but for her as well. And I love that you were able to even guide her into a space where she could look at the space from a different vantage point. She could see through your eyes, because that's what happens so many times when it's big to us. It's because we got under it. It got bigger than us. We were underneath it, you know? And you were not underneath it. So you were able to give her the vantage point of, but hello, have you seen this, this, and this that you've got aligned here? You brought in so lovely. And then all of a sudden they're able to poke their head out some and get some fresh air. And they're able to all of a sudden see, oh my goodness, I'm in a different space. 99.9% of the time when something happens that feels off or difficult or, in some way uncomfortable, 99.9% of the time, it's exactly what we need.
And she was like taking so much on, she was taking everything onto herself also. She's really a beautiful person inside and out. And like I said, I could just feel and almost see like the density, like just washing off of her, like in her facial expression and her body language. And she'd just taken so much on herself, like
She was buried.
blame.
She was buried beneath it all. Yes.
Yes, yes,
Buried.
totally. And had been for a long time.
Yes, yes, yes. So she freed herself, and she just didn't know she was freeing herself at every step of the space breaking open, but
Right.
that's what was happening. She was actually freeing herself. So thank you so much for standing in a space of love and compassion. A lot of other people, no matter how long they know somebody, they'd be like, really? Hello? I didn't do anything wrong. Like I have the right to go anywhere I want to go. You know what I mean? Like, so you really rose above and just were coming from love and allowing a space to open up where she could see that love for herself, which it feels like you guys have a lovely relationship. So I could see where you would want to make that available to her if at all possible. And it offered you the ability to understand where you are, how far you've come in the understanding of being able to observe and being able to hold the line and not getting all caught up and underneath it with somebody else. So it really provided everyone exactly what everyone was in need of.
It's just not getting caught up in the drama. That's what I was like. So I was in awe of it. Like, even while it was going on, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I'm the grand observer.
It's amazing. It's such an incredible feeling, it really is. And everything about the space is different. I've had that experience myself where I'll just be taking it all in and it's all happening. Everybody's saying and doing, but I'm observing it from a different vantage point and energetic connection. And it makes every single thing that's happening in the space be read, registered, interpreted different than had I been underneath it with them, all up in it. So no, it's a fantastic space. And what's really interesting is when you start to see it happening and you can get where you feel like it's more of a normal, natural state of being. I'm not fully there yet. I still have moments where I'm not completely the observer and not completely neutral. And I have some moments where I feel some, spaces of personal affliction in some way. But I'm doing better because I like that other space much better. I would much rather be in the grand observer space. It's a much more flow state. It's a much more open. It's just so open. You feel like there's nothing that can press you, touch you. You just feel so much peace, So you're an Acasma Quantum Energy Master teacher. You've been through Acasma Quantum Foundations course. which is AQE 1, 2, and 3. And then you went on and you did the Master Teacher course. So thinking of those spaces and the new human classes, would you say that's the core for the spaces of these types of ability in one's self-mastery to implement a life where you can be the grand observer and you can have self-love and not self-sacrifice?
Definitely. It's like, it's hard to separate the Acasma foundational courses from being the new human, because it all ends up being one. But having the Patreon, being the new human classes for so long, and it's like they're a supplement to the course itself. And so you learn the techniques in the course, you learn the foundations, the attunements, but then being the new human, like, it helps you to apply it on a daily, minute by minute level, if you choose for it to, because really there isn't one day that goes by that it doesn't enter my mind and my life and the way I make a decision. Maybe not initially, if I have like a triggered reaction, but then if I step back, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I can see, I try to see, it allows me to try to see both sides.
Beautiful. Yeah. It is life applicable in the manner of the being the new human classes. I understand that. I get that a lot with people, and that's why we did end up putting a lot of the video content, not all, but a lot, because we have years of it. We put a lot of those links inside the AQE1 PDF so that people could find those classes, because so many people said that class on fear, or that class on, how I can be the observer, how I can stay in my heart and my wholeness, whatever it was. But they were saying how it really helped them implement it in the life. Because it's one thing to understand the concept, it's one thing to read about it, but it's a totally different thing to be able to then live from that understanding. And that's when you're in a space of, I believe, that self-mastery and PowerPoint. So with Acasma Quantum Energy, we shift the consciousness, we shift the energy to that higher alignment. We bring in the healing for the body, because the body is always reflective of the energy we've been carrying. We've been carrying a lot of anger. We have the spaces in the body that have been trying to tell us that, or whatever's going on. So the energy spaces with Acasma Quantum Energy, we offer those teachings, attunements, activations for the consciousness, for the healing of the body. And then the being the new human, which we implement in with all that Q&A. Also at the end of the PDFs, there's tons of Q&A. What does this mean? What is programming? What is your higher self? What does it mean to be sovereign? How can you connect with your light team? Whatever the questions, what is light language? All of that is the implementation. All of that is the living it. All of that is because, who wants to compartmentalize anymore? It's craziness. It's craziness to be spiritual in your meditation space, or spiritual when you go to get your massage, or spiritual at yoga or church or whatever your thing is. And then you go back to everyday life and you're falling apart, or you're pissed off, or you're angry, or whatever your thing is. So in Acasma, we say, no, no, no. No more breaking yourself up. Allow the spiritual to flow through every space of you, because you are that eternal light in a human form. And then allow yourself to live from that type of understanding and knowing. And that's what you're talking about here, what you're doing in the relationship with your mother, what you're doing with this beautiful friend of yours that you went through this space with. That is the implementation of your eternal essence, not you separating yourself out and saying, well, this is a human thing. You are a human being. That means you are an eternal being in a human form, and you're living now from that wholeness. You're living from that.
An intricate toolbox. You can picture whatever beautiful design or jewels on the outside, and you can open it up, and there's all these tools in there just at your disposal. Like they
You have
all have
everything you need
on them that you can apply to any situation.
Yes, 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 yes. And that's another thing that we joke, but seriously, we've said a million times over, we have everything we need to navigate every space we could possibly be bringing to ourselves. We have everything we need in here. And then we learn these certain types of, go-tos that help us remember it's in here. Remember and reconnect into that space and implement accordingly. And what do we see when we see these lives of these beautiful ones who do this work we do and live these lives we live? Was we see peace. We see more peace anchoring in their lives and in their families. We see abundance all the way around. Their health is better, their finances are better, their friendships, their relationships in all aspects are better. More happiness, more joy. They have spaces they navigate in everyday life that can come in and be another opportunity for wisdom. But it's a different reception. It's a different vantage point. Even like you said, when you were in that moment and you understood you were really the observer. You were really the observer. And how vast, right? How incredibly beautiful and vast we are to be these spaces of our consciousness. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you unendingly for doing this again with me. I love our talks.
Thank you, Andrea. I love talking to
love
you.
it.
It's a pleasure.
I love
It's
these
an
spaces.
honor.
Thank you.
The
Thank you.
divinity in me acknowledges the divinity in you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yarukuane, apapoane, tokore kianatea, asano nuapuane, ianatauanea, ianatauanea, ianatauanea. I love you, I love you, I love you.
I love you. Thank you.
And thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone who came in and watched this space. We love you too. And we're a beautiful family here with the Cosmo Family of Light. Janet Kate is actually one of the leaders of our Pods of Light. We have beautiful groups just waiting for anyone who feels like they're ready to be in a conscious, aware group of people who share love and kindness and expanded consciousness with one another. Janet Kate is one of the leaders of one of our Acasma Pods of Light. Goes with our Acasma Grid of Light. Many of you love our Acasma Grid. We just had a powerful one at the end of February here, for those who are watching this kind of in the time frame of when it was filmed. But we have these spaces available to all who are ready to rise in their remembrance and anchor in their reconnection of who they truly are, and that is light. So thank you unendingly. We love you all.